Hey y'all, this is Coach in the Fight here, continuing the parable series. We're looking in chapter 65 of the Third Testament of the Bible, the revelation of Jesus Christ. Now we've made it through the parable of the poor administrators, to crossing the desert to the great city, and now we're on the third parable, which is the magnanimity of a king. All right, now the way we're doing these guys is I'm gonna put the text up and I'm gonna give you the audio so you can follow along. But I'm not going to expound on any of these. We're doing that in the comments. So as you go along, see if you can understand the parables. You know, you're familiar with parables from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is the same kind of stuff. And, add your comments. We're hoping to get a discussion going at the bottom so we can kind of get an understanding of this. We know nobody has all of the answers. We know everybody has some input. So we're extending the invitation for you to give that input. We're not going to bash each other. If I see any type of comments, this is not going to be like, the regular, hey, let's, bash over in the fight there. If I see any bashing comments, against anybody's, I'm going to delete them, especially if it's not mine. I don't really care. You can't hurt my feelings too much more than it's already, but, we're going to protect those who may have an opinion they want to share and they don't really want to get bashed for it. So if we see anybody doing that, make poking fun of any kind of way, I'm gonna be tempted to delete them off, and we'll flag each other for it. All right, enough said. We're gonna jump right into this one. We're looking at the magnanimity of a king, coming out of 65, and let's get it going.
Parable, the magnanimity of a king. Once there was a king who was surrounded by his subjects, celebrating a victory over a rebellious people who now were to become his vassals. The king and his subjects cheered their victory, and the king spoke, saying, "The strength of my arm has triumphed and enlarged my kingdom. Yet I will love the conquered as I do you, and give them great lands of my dominion to cultivate the vine. And just as I love them, I wish you to love them also." Time passed, and among that people, conquered by the love and justice of that king, rose up a man who rebelled against his lord, and who tried to kill him while he slept, though he only succeeded in wounding him. Faced with his crime, that man fled, terrified to hide himself in the darkest jungles, while the king wept for the ingratitude of his subject, and for his absence, because he loved him greatly. In his flight, the man fell prisoner of a people who were enemies of the king, and when he was accused of being a subject of that king, whose authority he did not recognize, he proclaimed loudly that he was fleeing because he had killed that king. But he was not believed, and was sentenced to be tortured and burned at the stake. Just as, already bloodied, he was to be given to the fire, the king happened to pass by with his subjects in search of the rebel. Seeing what was happening, the Lord raised his arm and called to the executioners, "What is it you do, you rebellious people?" And at the majestic and commanding voice of the king, the rebels prostrated themselves before him. The ungrateful subject, who was tied to the stake, awaiting the execution of his sentence, was surprised and fascinated to see that the king had not died, and now approached step by step to untie him. The king took the rebel from the stake and cured his wounds. He poured wine between his lips, dressed him in new white vestments, and after depositing a kiss on his forehead, said to him, "My subject, why did you leave my side? Why did you wound me? Do not answer in words. I only wish you to know that I love you, and I say to you now, come and follow me." The people who witnessed that scene of charity, astonished and converted, exclaimed, "Hosanna! Hosanna!" and declared themselves obedient subjects of the king. That people thereafter received nothing but good from their lord, and the subject who had once rebelled, surprised at receiving so much love from his king, surrendered to his perfect works and determined to return those proofs of limitless love by loving and venerating his lord forever. End of the parable. There, people, you have my word clearly. Men struggle against me and thereby lose their friendship for me. What damage have I done to the men? What harm brings them my doctrine or my law? Understand that as many times as you offend me, the same number of times you are forgiven. But you must then forgive your enemies as many times as they offend you. I love you, and if you take a step away from me, I take a step towards you. And if you close the doors of your temple against me, I will cat at them until you open them for me to enter.
All right, y'all. There you have it. That is the third parable. As we're doing in the previous ones, let's leave a comment below. Hermes Academy. Power, patience, continence, and faith. We teach virtue.